Reports are stating that Spurs are on the verge of an agreement with Brentford goalkeeper David Raya, but as things stand, Spurs do not want to pay the £40 million asking price. Ryan Mason will join Postecoglou's coaching staff next season. Reports in Italy are stating that Galatasaray attacker Nicolò Zaniolo is of interest to Tottenham yet again, and Spurs are lining up a move for Roma star Roger Ibanez. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all keeping well. This is another edition of Tottenham News, where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit the subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Now, just before I start and get into it, I would just like to say a huge thank you to everybody in Australia. We have gone in to the top 10 football podcasts in Australia this week, so thank you very much indeed. Now, let's start with some big news from Italian journalist and transfer expert Fabrizio Romano. He has stated that Tottenham Hotspur are now on the verge of reaching an agreement with David Raya on personal terms. Long-term contract almost agreed after positive talks. David Raya is open to Spurs' move, but club-to-club talks will be crucial. £40 million fee asked by Brentford, and at the moment it is considered too high for Spurs. The Evening Standard have also reported on this story. They are stating that Tottenham are in talks over signing Brentford goalkeeper David Raya. Talks with the player over personal terms have progressed well and an agreement is expected. Brentford are standing firm on a £40 million asking price for David Raya. Spurs are currently unwilling to meet that fee for a player who has just 1 year remaining on his contract. It remains to be seen if an agreement between Tottenham and Brentford will be reached. Manchester United and Chelsea are monitoring the situation. Tottenham are looking for a long-term replacement for captain Hugo Lloris, who recently declared his desire to leave the club after 11 years at the club. Reports in Italy are stating that Tottenham Hotspur have entered the race to sign Galatasaray attacker Nicolò Zaniolo this summer, with a whole host of teams in the Premier League and across Europe also interested. The 23-year-old moved from Roma to Galatasaray in February 2023 and has impressed in Turkey, winning the league, scoring 5 goals in 10 appearances. Reports in Italy are stating that Tottenham are among a group of clubs interested in signing Nicolò Zaniolo this summer, despite the player moving to Turkey only a few months ago. Reports state that the attacker has offers in the Premier League from Spurs and Aston Villa, also from Serie A clubs AC Milan and Juventus. A report has just been published by the Daily Express and it states that Tottenham target has suitcase packed ahead of summer transfer as decision made on future. A Spurs target is claimed to be ready to move after a decision was made over his future. According to reports in Italy, Tottenham Hotspur target Roger Ibanez will be leaving Roma and has already packed his suitcase ahead of a potential move. The Serie A side are claimed to be keen on completing a deal for financial fair play reasons. Tottenham Hotspur are yet to make any signings this summer. They only announced the appointment of Ange Postecoglou as their new permanent head coach last week. The North Londoners are still without a director of football following the departure of Fabio Paratici, but that has not stopped rumours regarding potential targets. Defence is set to be a key area that Spurs look to improve on this summer. Clement Longley has left at the end of his loan, while the likes of Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer and Ben Davies see their futures in doubt. The Italian publication La Gazzetta dello Sport have claimed that Ibanez is one player linked with a move to Tottenham Hotspur to help them strengthen their back line. They have stated that the 24-year-old will be leaving Roma in the summer transfer window. Roma want to bring in around £25.6 million, the equivalent of €30 million for Ibanez, who is said to have a bag ready packed to move to another club. Due to financial reasons, Roma want to get the deal done by the end of June and are therefore open to offers for the player right now. Ibanez, who has 2 caps for Brazil, moved to Europe to sign for Atalanta back in January 2019. A year later, he signed for Roma on loan before joining permanently ahead of the 2021-2022 campaign. He has made 149 appearances across his 3.5 years at Roma, scoring 9 goals. Ibanez has played under former Tottenham Hotspur boss Jose Mourinho for the last 2 campaigns, helping Roma to win the Europa Conference League last term and reach the final of the Europa League this year. According to various reports today, Newcastle United are now leading the race to sign Leicester City and England midfielder James Maddison, of course Tottenham Hotspur target. The Express have stated that Spurs face an early blow in Ange Postecoglou's reign as the failure to qualify for Europe next season threatens to halt their summer transfer window. Newcastle United have stolen a march in the race to sign Leicester midfielder James Maddison. Leicester City want as much as £60 million to part ways with their midfielder this summer, but Tottenham aren't alone in their interest. Sky Sports have reported that Newcastle are leading the race to sign James Maddison and get his signature as Eddie Howe looks to bolster his squad. Newcastle have been interested in a deal for the England international since January and can offer him Champions League football next term. Reports are stating that Postecoglou and Spurs are holding discussions over plans for next season ahead of a crucial summer transfer window. The Australian boss will want to mould his squad to his liking after guiding Celtic to a domestic treble in Scotland. Reports are also stating that Daniel Levy would have likely handed assurances to Postecoglou when he decided to walk away from his thriving project at Parkhead. Significant moves are required to push change before his maiden campaign in the hot seat. None more so than settling on Harry Kane's future. A report was published earlier today by the Evening Standard and it states that Ryan Mason to stay at Tottenham Hotspur following Ange Postecoglou talks. Mason has held positive talks with Postecoglou, who has offered him a role on his coaching staff. Ryan Mason is expected to stay at Spurs as part of Ange Postecoglou's coaching staff following talks between the pair. Spurs are still finalising Postecoglou's backroom team, but Ryan Mason has held a positive meeting with the Australian boss, who is appointed on a 4-year contract this week. The report also states that Postecoglou is thought to have been impressed by Ryan Mason, who took over as Spurs head coach on an interim basis for the final 6 matches of last season. But Mason has repeatedly insisted he is ready for the permanent role as manager. The 31-year-old has attracted interest from at least 2 championship clubs and 2 European clubs and could have sought a manager's job elsewhere. Spurs were keen to keep Ryan Mason and he has decided to stay on after being offered a role by Postecoglou. Lastly, the report states that Postecoglou has held talks with Chairman Daniel Levy about plans for next season and would also like his Celtic number 2, John Kennedy, to join him at Spurs. Now, my thoughts on all of these stories in today's episode. Let's start by talking about David Raya. I'll tell you what, I feel excited about this possible signing. David Raya is certainly on my list of goalkeepers to come in at Tottenham Hotspur. I think David Raya has it all. Fantastic shot stopper, great with his feet, distribution is very good. He likes to move the ball very fast as well, and that is exactly what Ange Postecoglou will demand from his number 1. So it is now about paying the £40 million. And what I am excited about is David Raya actually wants to join Tottenham Hotspur. Fabrizio Romano has stated that personal terms have nearly been agreed. He wants the move to Spurs. He obviously wants to stay in London. Manchester United are also interested, as are Chelsea. If Spurs want to get this deal done, I think they need to be pretty quick. And yeah, I think it would be a really great signing. I said on one of the previous episodes, go out and make a statement signing. I think that this would be a statement signing very, very early on in the transfer window. Ange Postecoglou comes in, a week later, we sign a £40 million goalkeeper if we can get this deal done. But I think he would fit in perfectly well at Tottenham. The James Maddison one will be interesting. Of course, Newcastle can give Maddison Champions League football. We haven't got any European football for next season, but it is about going to these players now, telling them about the project, telling them about the ambition of the football club and where we want to be next season and the season after. That's what we need to do. So if Spurs want to go and get Maddison, we have to spend big money. If we want good players, if we want game-changing players like James Maddison, who again I think would be a great signing for Tottenham, we have to do a lot in this transfer window. We Spurs fans are expecting a lot of players to go out the door. As I've said many, many times, it will be very interesting to see what happens to a lot of the loan players, in particular Giovanni Lo Celso and Tonki Ndombele, who between the two of them, £100 million on those two players, and they've spent the majority of their Spurs careers away from Tottenham Hotspur. So a lot to do in this window, but if we want top quality players, you need to pay the price. And let me go back to the David Raya one as well. If Spurs don't pay the £40 million, I'm sure that they will offer somewhere close. But I think we all know how Tottenham Hotspur like to work now. It may be like, we'll give you 25 million, and then we'll give you another 5 million when he's made 50 appearances. We'll give you another 5 million if we get into the Champions League within the next 2 years. It'll be all of these little clauses. So they may end up paying the £40 million, but it just may be really complex and, yeah, very, very, very much, based on clauses and what ifs. Or even appearances for that matter. Reports in Italy are stating that we're interested in Galatasaray attacker Nicolò Zaniolo. I tell you what, on the amount of updates that I've done in the last couple of years, Nicolò Zaniolo's name keeps coming up, particularly under Fabio Prasci when he was our sporting director, because he apparently was a huge fan of Nicolò Zaniolo. Zaniolo actually had the chance to go to Bournemouth. He turned it down. He went to Galatasaray instead. So I think he was expecting, no disrespect to Bournemouth, by the way, but I think he was expecting a big club to come in for him. And from what I understand, Spurs didn't want to pay the money and they weren't that interested in Zaniolo at that time. Now, next one, Roger Ibanez. Now, all I would say on this is we need to do a lot of work in the next couple of months, particularly before the Premier League season starts, to improve our back line. We have said, as Spurs fans, so many of us have said the same thing about our back line. It's really, really let us down. We conceded so many goals last season. Defensively, we just weren't good enough. We know that Ange Postecoglou is coming in to provide us with entertaining football. I don't think that is going to be a problem whatsoever. Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, we have creative players. It'd be interesting to see what happened with the Dejan Kulusevski deal, by the way, because from what I understand as well, Spurs are trying to get a discount from Juventus to make that a permanent deal. So it'll be interesting to see if we have Kulusevski for next season or he will go back to Juventus. But I have no doubt or no question or no worries whatsoever about Tottenham Hotspur creating chances and scoring goals. It is about defending, and it is about stopping the goals, obviously going in and conceding them. So that is where we need to do a lot of work in this summer to make sure that we are starting next season with a very, very capable backline. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good week. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, come on you Spurs.